we will finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. For years, Congress has required biometric entry-exit visa tracking systems. In my administration, we will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system. The race to 5G is a race America must win, and it's a race, frankly, that our great companies are now involved in. We've given them the incentive they need. It's a race that we will win. And American health care better and more accessible. Basically, it covers, in the United States, our approach is private sector driven and private sector led. The government doesn't have to spend lots of money. According to some estimates, the wireless industry plans to invest $275 billion in 5G networks, creating 3 million American jobs quickly, very quickly, and adding $500 billion to our economy. Creating 3 million American jobs quickly, very quickly, and to accelerate and incentivize these investments, my administration is focused on freeing up as much wireless spectrum as needed. We're going to free it up so they'll be able to get out there and get it done, and removing regulatory barriers to the build-out of networks.
Elon Musk is at it again. The billionaire behind companies like Tesla and SpaceX is known for his audacious plans, and in October of 2019, he took them one step further when SpaceX sought permission to launch 30,000 satellites into orbit. That's on top of the 12,000 satellites they've already been given approval for as part of their Starlink mega constellation that aims to beam high-speed internet around the globe, starting with service in North America as soon as 2020. For the math-inclined among you, that means SpaceX would like permission to launch up to 42,000 satellites into low Earth orbit. And the only question I have is, why? If you were to head over to SpaceX's Starlink website, you'd see that their main selling point is global connectivity, something that would benefit people in rural areas or in places where current internet service is too expensive or unreliable. And that's all commendable, since it'd be great if everyone around the globe had access to the internet and the fine educational content available on Seeker.com. But 42,000 satellites is an extreme amount of high-tech hunks of metal to launch into space. For context, right now, the UN Office of Outer Space Affairs estimates there are about 4,000 satellites in low Earth orbit. So SpaceX alone would like to launch up to 10 times that. The idea is to form a web of satellites whose orbits crisscross and provide global coverage. It seems like a very expensive proposition, so is there more to this project than just making the World Wide Web truly worldwide? SpaceX is a business, and they wouldn't do something like this if it couldn't turn a profit. Despite the project's estimated minimum price tag of $10 billion, Musk believes it could bring in as much as $30 to $50 billion in revenue each year. Why is it worth so much? Well, it's all about cutting latency time, or the amount of time it takes information from your computer to reach its destination and come back. Here on Earth, the preferred way to transmit large amounts of information over long distances is through fiber optic cables. These bundles of glass fibers carry beams of light from one point to another, taking advantage of light's extreme speed. But because light has to travel through the medium of glass, it doesn't reach the same top speed it does in a vacuum, like in space. In a vacuum, light travels at nearly 300 million meters per second, but bouncing through glass, that speed drops to around 204 million meters per second. That adds a few microseconds of latency per kilometer. So sending information through space could save a lot of time, provided it's done in the right way. For decades, we've used satellites to send data to remote parts of the world, but typically the ones we use are in geosynchronous orbit, where they appear fixed over one spot in the sky. To achieve that positioning, the satellites have to be in very distant orbits over 35,800 kilometers high. That means that even using light at its max speed, latency times are around 700 milliseconds. So SpaceX plans on putting its satellites much closer to home, operating at 550 kilometers up. At this altitude, it's impossible for them to stay over one spot. They have to move faster to stay in orbit, hence the need for so many of them to maintain coverage. But at that distance, a network of satellites passing along information at light's top speed will have less latency than any fiber optic network longer than 3,000 kilometers. And the farther the data has to travel, the more of an advantage the network like Starlink will have over its terrestrial fiber optic counterparts. This high-speed link is worth incredible amounts of money to financial markets, where milliseconds of delays can translate to millions of dollars lost as markets shift. Starlink still has a long way to go before its promise can be realized. The satellites will have to be cheap and reliable enough to justify launching thousands. And once they're up there, they need working autonomous collision avoidance to keep from smashing into other satellites and causing a runaway debris problem. Astronomers are also warning that so many satellites sending so many radio waves could interfere with ground-based optical and radio observations. So SpaceX is working out how to build and operate their satellites in a way that doesn't affect them. And of course, SpaceX isn't the only company racing towards satellite broadband, with companies like OneWeb and Amazon's Project Kuiper pursuing similar goals. In fact, that may be why they applied to launch 30,000 more satellites, as a move to box out competition, rather than because that's the demand they anticipate. All in all, it's another classic Elon Musk project. It aims high and promises huge returns, and it's not without its skeptics and dissenters. Will a constellation of satellites connect the world while still keeping the skies clear for science and other spacecraft? We'll just have to wait and see. Even if the speed information is sent around the world speeds up, a slow Wi-Fi router can still bottleneck your system. To learn how Wi-Fi 6 will speed up your internet, check out my video on it here. If you like this episode, let us know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to Seeker, and thanks for watching.
According to Article 6 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. However, 1.2 billion people in the world live without documented proof of their existence. That means they're excluded from modern society and the everyday activities that we take for granted. ID 2020 believes that the future can be different. This public-private partnership is dedicated to solving the challenges related to identity in today's world. To do this, we need to understand what truly defines our identity and how we prove it. We need to appreciate the human at the heart of the challenge. Using innovative technology, we can discover how that identity can be established, trusted, and strengthened over time.
I am Sarah. I am a mother.
I am a doctor. I am a soccer fan.
I am Fabiola. I am a student.
I am a princess.
I am Zhao. I am a scientist.
I am a teacher.
I am...
Can you show me some identification?
No, my house was completely destroyed. I just ran.
You will need some ID to cross the border.
I've got nothing on me. What can I do? I'm a father. I'm trying to find my family. Please, I'm scared.
Hi, how can I help you?
My child needs to be vaccinated.
Okay, can I get your name?
I am Nia.
And your date of birth?
I don't know my date of birth. I don't have a birth certificate.
Don't you have any form of ID? I'm sorry, Nia, we need something that proves who you are and where you were born.
Can you please help me? I'm here on holidays, but I've lost my passport and my flight leaves tomorrow.
That will take some time to process.
But I need to get back. Family emergency. What can I do?
Can I get your name?
Can you show me some identification?
Don't you have any form of ID?
Please help me.
What if your identity was always in your hands? An identity you can trust, that others can trust? What if this digital identity was always at your fingertips, and people could verify your identity in a few simple steps? What if you were in control of your data and how it's shared with others? What if this personal, portable identity helped you to learn, work, and live? What if showing who you are was as easy as saying, I am?
I am Yusuf.
Across the globe, the pieces are coming together to make this happen. Accenture, Microsoft, and Avanade have teamed up to create the prototype you've seen in action. It's a first step towards a digital identity solution for all. To achieve this, we need motivated, passionate people and organisations to join us. So we invite you to come together, collaborate, and realise the vision of ID 2020.
An intense debate is underway over the benefits and drawbacks of human microchips. They're already used to identify ranch animals and pets. But the practice of implanting chips in people is also on the rise. Those who embrace the idea say they see it as a way to take back control of their personal data. But others are worried about how that data could be used. Special correspondent Malcolm Brabant reports from southern England as part of our Breakthrough series on the leading edge of science, technology, and medicine.
I don't want to live a normal life. I want to live an exceptional life, and I want to try things and do things that perhaps others in my situation have never done.
Meet Alex Lewis, interior designer, businessman, adventurer, and motivational speaker.
We were just an ordinary family. Me, Lucy, and our son Sam. Then, just over 2 years ago, I caught a common cold. It was to change the course of my life overnight.
I'm in this condition thanks to an incredibly rare case of strep A, and it led to toxic shock syndrome, septicemia, and subsequently sepsis. I lost all 4 limbs within about 6 or 7 months.
Alex is a pathfinder for those with serious medical conditions. In the remains of each arm, a microchip has been implanted. One is to hold medical information, the other for a chore the able-bodied take for granted.
For me, as a prosthetic user, one of the most fiddly things is keys. Keys are a nightmare for us. And the microchip, when looking into it, we realised quite quickly that it could save a lot of time. So for me, it was going to be beneficial for that. I could lose 15 minutes trying to get in my front door. I could lose 10 minutes trying to get out of my back door. And now all that's been saved.
These microchips use a system called near-field communication. It's exactly the same sort of technology used in contactless debit and credit cards. Like the bank cards, the chip's information can be scanned, but it cannot transmit. Once banking security has been configured, developers believe consumers will soon be free to spend with the implant. A British railway ticket, but it's much different in Sweden, a country supposedly leading the microchip revolution. On Sweden's high-speed rail lines for the past 18 months, implanted passengers have put their travel payment on the chip.
I think it's really good with a chip ticket. I love all companies that use the chip technology.
But the rail company is stopping the experiment. The number of implanted passengers is relatively small, and it wants to pursue other forms of ticketing. This is not a setback, insists Sweden's microchip pioneer Johan Österlund, a former body piercer seen here giving a TED talk.
We can do easier travel. We can do faster and safer payment. We can do something as mundane as opening a door. I mean, the opportunities are endless.
Unfortunately, these innovators often don't think about the political ramifications.
Gus Hussain is the executive director of Privacy International, a non-profit that challenges overreaching state and corporate surveillance.
In today's world particularly, we have to imagine how governments and how ambitious politicians and even ambitious corporate executives will try to imagine putting this type of technology into you so that they can exploit your data and ultimately exploit you.
I'm going to ask you to keep your hand just nice and relaxed like it is.
IT student Kieran Anderson is being chipped by Dr. Jeff Watson, a consultant anaesthetist who's driving research into the medical benefits.
The microchip's actually inside here, and there's a sort of introducer piece of plastic that will push it out once it's in. Okay, so this is the implant coming now. You'll feel a bit of pressure and a bit of a clunk. So you're now a cyborg. Welcome. Not too painful?
No, that's fine.
Kieran has a near-field communication microchip in his hand, and that can be used to store data, store information, his name, address, contact details, anything he chooses to put on there, blood type, allergies, basic medical information.
The idea of everything being able to commute together excites me quite a lot. So, automatic payments and that sort of thing without you having to actually do anything.
The idea of this chip is that it's not transmitting anything. It has to be actively read. You choose who can read it and when they can read it. I think that gives us a lot more personal control over our information than your mobile phone is giving away.
But Privacy International's Gus Hussain is yet to be convinced.
Already governments are keen to capture your fingerprints. They are keen to capture your iris scans, and they want to be able to do this at a distance so they can identify as you walk through areas. They're doing facial recognition. These are all fallible technologies. They're hard to do well, but the idea that they could actually just embed you, it is the modern form of tattooing barcodes on people, and we've seen governments do that in the past. This is just the next generation.
Stephen Northern, the co-owner of the British implant company, believes those fears are exaggerated.
So I've been compared to Hitler before for microchipping people. It's been commented, but I mean, I can't really see the connection personally. I can understand people have very strong views. There's big ethical arguments around microchipping people, but currently it's by choice. No one is enforcing you have to be microchipped. If that happens, completely different ball game and lots more arguments to be had around it.
Eddie Curry favours using chips to replace keys at his weekly newspaper on England's southern coast. He fears the publication is at risk in the changing global media market and wants to attract new income by turning the company into a hub for digital innovators.
I'm well aware that this technology could be used for all sorts of sinister things, but for us here, we're an ethical firm. We don't envisage doing anything more than that, and we wouldn't force anybody to have one because we can understand they may be reticent about it.
But the majority of staff have rejected the offer to be chipped.
The benefits, of just being able to open a door wouldn't really be sufficient for me to have something implanted in my body.
I haven't got any concerns because obviously this is quite a small company, and I don't think it will be abused here.
I suppose somebody has got to be the trailblazer so that other people can see how it works. I don't want that to be me.
Jeff Watson sees huge potential, especially in the medical field, for those with illnesses such as diabetes.
Take a diabetic who collapses in the street and people don't know what to do. By the time the ambulance has arrived and worked things out, it may take hours before they're properly treated. Whereas a simple instruction read from the phone, my name is Joe Bloggs, please contact this number for my next of kin, I'm diabetic, please give me some sugar and it should make me feel better. Those kind of things could make life-changing advances for individuals.
The chips can be read by scanners installed in the latest mobile phones. So how easy would it be for a hacker to steal the information from the implants used by Alex and others?
Any technology is open to abuse, and anybody would be able to hack it. In order to hack these devices, it has to be held still for a period of time. At the moment, I think that takes about 3 to 4 hours to hack it.
There we go then. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Alex's wife Lucy is not troubled by security concerns, but is looking forward to the second generation of chips.
Alex travels overseas an awful lot. Before he goes overseas, I have to do this whole packaging of medication, what medication he's on, and passports. I'm always worried about who has his passport. And so all of those things, it will eventually come into its own that he'll be able to use all of that information without me worrying about where it is or who it's with.
At present, Alex Lewis relies on a driver, but he hopes the next breed of implants will put him behind the wheel.
To be able to get into the car, to start it without any kind of key with the microchip to start the car would be fantastic. But it just opens up a bit more freedom for me.
Privacy International's Gus Hussain insists he's not a Luddite, a person opposed to new technology.
Every technology that comes along has to be treated with complete suspicion until we're able to sort out the ethical barriers around our actions.
I live an incredible life, a life that I'm incredibly happy to be living.
As this technology improves, the debate will intensify as to whether implants generate or diminish freedom. as well as the many shades of grey in between. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Malcolm Brabant in southern England.
A British company is helping employers to microchip their staff. Biotech says it has already fitted 150 implants in the UK, which enable people to open doors or even start a car with a wave of their hand. But trade unions are warning that bosses already have too much power and employees should not be pressured into being chipped. Our technology correspondent Roland Manthorpe reports.
Stephen Northam has a chip, but it's not on his shoulder. It's right here, between his thumb and forefinger. The Hampshire-based investor had it implanted last year. He says it's proving, well, handy.
I use it to access my office, so all the doors are swipe card entry. My house actually has smart card entry now, so I swipe my hand to enter. And I can actually start my car by putting my hand on the steering wheel. So that's the general purpose.
Stephen's company, Biotech, sells the service to individuals, but also to companies.
So a whole range of people are buying this. It's a really thriving business now. So we've got engineering companies who've worked with a bank interested in testing and technology, a local newspaper, a whole variety.
It's a small but growing trend. In Sweden, where around 6,000 people have chips, even the state-owned rail company has joined in.
And we have about 2,500 to 3,000 people using the microchip implants as tickets on our train services.
For some, the vision is of technologically transcending the limits of the human body. But the kit has some way to go.
People are not cattle. People are very complex beasts subject to different whims. We need systems which are programmable, revocable, usable under duress, usable under situations of danger, crisis or perceived danger.
The whole chipping process takes 3 minutes under local anaesthetic. Cost? £70.
Chips might seem futuristic, but really, they're just a visible sign of something that's already here. Because you don't need a microchip to be tracked on London's tube network. You just need one of these. Every time you tap in, you're being tracked. Every time your phone pings off the Wi-Fi inside, that's tracking you too. If you use one of these bikes, that's tracking you. And so is everything in the so-called smart city. The sci-fi dystopia we're also worried about is actually already here.
Roland Manthorpe, Sky News.
So many economists believe the future will be cash-free. You're already seeing it from everywhere you go, whether it's your baseball game or to your local deli. Now, Sweden is getting there even faster than anyone else. According to a New York Times report, a fifth of the country, doesn't even use ATMs anymore. And 4,000 Swedes, now get this, have microchips implanted in their hands so they can pay for products with just a wave of their hand. Makes the Apple Watch kind of look obsolete. So on top of that, many Swedish companies are asking their employees to get implants to pass through access points and to pay for conveniences. Now the red flags start going up. So for our red flags, we have to turn to legal media analyst Lionel. Lionel, thanks for joining us on this. I know you've got some red flags, and I feel like I'm reading out of the book of Revelation, possibly. So what concerns come to you arise from humans microchipping themselves?
This is the mark of the beast. This is, listen, no, let me tell you something. I mean, I'm no biblical scholar here, but it's amazing the parallels made. Now listen, let's get down to brass tacks. Would you, not you, I wish they'd stop with this. They go, we're going cashless. We've been cashless. Where's this cash? Ever buy a house with cash or a car? We've got this. I don't even have, I got a couple of bucks. We've been cashless. But that's not the issue. One of these days, these kids, I think you call them millennials or something, they're going to take these little tiny RFID, radio frequency identification chips, about the size of a grain of rice. And they're going to be cool, Scotty. Oh, they're going to be waiting in line overnight to get implanted. And they're going to say, look at this. I can go to the drugstore. I can go to a cab. Isn't it great? How cool am I? Look, I've got this little embedded chip. And they'll say, they have medical records. And you're going to do that to grandma and grandpa in case, God forbid, they have some kind of dementia they're walking off. I mean, after all, we have it in our dogs, right? It's like OnStar for human beings. But here's the catch. One of these days, God forbid, Scotty, they find you guilty of something. And you go before a court. And they say, we're going to sentence you to prison? No. We're going to turn your chip off. And you don't exist. Poof. Everything. In fact, people are going to notice that when you walk up, they're going to say, who is this? You're not registered. You say, it's me. What do you mean, who is this? No, you're not showing up on this. You don't exist. If you think I'm kidding, this is Elba. This is like some type of a prison. And people are going to be, one of these days, enslaved by this chip that it will replace you.
Now, wait a minute. First of all, no chip can replace you. Let me just point that out. No chip can replace me. But
You're telling me.
We can talk about the sci-fi sense, but I also want to talk about the responsibility aspect of it. My mother used to say, if you can't hold on to a $20 bill, then you don't even need to be able to spend it. You're not responsible enough to spend it. I'm worried, are they going to sell this basis on the fact that, hey, guess kids lose their money all the time? You won't ever have to be responsible again for yourself. You know, it automatically comes to you. Is that how they're going to try to sell this? What?
Scotty, what's that thing you have on your wrist?
Oh, I said I've got my Apple Watch.
The thing that looks like a watch?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it tracks me.
You know what that is? That's a surveillance unit. That's a surveillance unit. This is transhumanism. The RFID chip one day, and how many times have you used that? Have you used the iPhone wallet? Hey, I got this. Isn't this great?
It's convenient,
and you're
though.
responsible. Yeah,
convenience is that's a positive, though. We can't always say all technology is a negative.
Positive?
It's positive. You know,
let me tell you something. When something is free, you're the product. This is what happens. You see, we're going around and I don't want to scare you, but we've lost all sense of freedom. We're walking around here enslaved in this 24/7 worldview panopticon. You are walking around with a surveillance device on your wrist.
Well, you know what?
And I've got this stupid thing too. I'm walking around with it.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I'd want to be surveil your life 24/7. Mine's not exciting, but you know what? I know that we will have you back on to continue this conversation. Thanks for joining us.
Please. This is very serious stuff.
It is.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.
The most cutting-edge thing about Hannes Huerblad isn't the phone in his hand. It's the microchip actually in his hand. The tiny implant is the latest advance in a biohacking technology that is steadily becoming a part of normal life in Sweden.
We have created a new implant, which is not a chip, it's a full device where you can add different lights, different vibration, different functions. Sweden is a very tech-literate society. And I think this is the main explanation, really, why a lot of Swedes are adopting chip implants.
Swedes haven't been shy about upgrading themselves with the new version. Thousands already have microchip implants that they use in their daily lives, waving their hand to gain entrance to the gym, confirm their ID or make payments. A short moment of pain not putting them off becoming part Swede, part machine.
This event is an implant party, simply where ordinary people can show up and get a microchip embedded under their skin. The biohacking movement in Sweden is hosting them all over Europe, but it's at home where they get the most willing recipients.
I think it's really cool. You don't have to carry any keys or anything. It's just your body. In maybe 10 years, everything will be in your hand.
In Sweden, more than anywhere else, the future is already here. The national train company SJ has around 2,600 people signed up to use microchips instead of train tickets.
Did you see that?
And no need to mind the generation gap. 18-year-old Felicia and father Magnus still bear the scars of their new implants. Student Hannah Herving is also freshly chipped and now just needs to program it to open doors. Although importantly for a future career, it does already connect to her LinkedIn.
Some people say I'm mad that I don't know if it's safe and all that, but people have been putting these chips into animals for 20 years, so I'm not worried about that.
The long-term goal is for the new chips to help provide medical care in remote communities. They're already getting under the skin of the Swedes and may soon become just another normal part of modern life and of the human body. Paul Rees, Al Jazeera, Lund, Sweden.
The city of Lund in southern Sweden dates back to medieval times. Over the centuries, it's witnessed plenty of change, but now there's a whole new sort of evolution going on. I'm here to meet some of the thousands of people in the country who are adapting their own bodies, who are inserting microchips under their skin. It means they may never have to carry a house key, train ticket, or bank card ever again. This is a microchipping party. Hannah's getting an electronic chip implanted into her hand. She believes one day we'll all be chipped like her.
So congratulations, Hannah.
Thank you.
You've been chipped?
Yes, I have.
How does it feel?
It feels good. I'm excited to see what I'll be able to do now.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, you can feel it there. I feel like this is the future. It's the next big thing that's going to happen. Happy cyborg birthday.
Happy cyborg birthday to you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
But is this sci-fi fantasy or practicality? I want to know why anyone would want to do this. For this teenager, microchips, it seems, are in her DNA.
Felicia is my daughter and I'm the father.
So you're a microchip family?
We will become one now today, yes.
Magnus and his daughter Felicia have come here together tonight because they believe this is the future.
You're going to have an upgraded dad.
Yeah.
As they say, it was good being a human, but being a cyborg is better. Didn't feel a thing.
It's a quick, simple procedure with potentially huge significance.
So you're officially part machine. How does it feel?
This is awesome. How cool is that? Good job.
Do you think in a few years' time, in a decade perhaps, we'll all have things like this?
Yes, of course. I really do think.
For around £130, anyone can get a tiny microchip like this inserted just beneath the skin in their hands. I can't help feeling a bit squeamish about it, but maybe I'm just behind the times.
It's the morning after, and I'm about to catch up with Felicia and her dad Magnus as they get to grips with their new existence.
So when you woke up this morning, was it the first thing that came to your mind? How did you feel?
I felt a little bit strange because now I'm a cyborg and it feels pretty cool.
The chips in their hands use near-field communication, the same technology that allows you to pay with a contactless credit card. They can be read by a device like a smartphone.
So here I've stored my business card on my phone with my details, phone number, email address, other stuff, blood group even.
So what's the benefit of that?
When I get customers or suppliers at work, they ask for my business card and I say, scan me.
Aren't there risks involved in that as well? Couldn't somebody pass you by and take all that information?
Yes. Yes, it is in theory possible, but you have to be really, really close. But the main thing I think is that I choose myself what I want to store on this chip.
The people I've met so far don't seem to have any concerns about blurring the lines between man and machine. Hannes has made it his mission to convince more of us to get microchipped. He's what's known as a biohacker, someone who wants to improve their body with technology.
What's wrong with just having contactless payment cards? We've all got phones, we've all got a set of keys. What's the point?
The point is to reduce the hassle of exactly these things.
Isn't that just the ultimate laziness?
No, it's convenience. And convenience is a pretty powerful force. I mean, in the morning, every morning, when you stand there, going out your front door, you check your purse or your pockets. Okay, do I have my wallet, my charger, my keys, my phone, all my stuff? What if you could reduce that by half? It would declutter your life.
Hannes has helped develop several microchips. He wants us all to hack our biology. Microchipping is, he says, just the start.
I want us humans to open up and improve our sensory universe, our cognitive functions, and improve all different dimensions of being human. And there is so much we can do.
You want to make us bionic?
Indeed. I want to merge humans with technology, and I think it will be awesome.
I want to understand why it's people in Sweden who are enthusiastically embracing this idea, when many others might be sceptical. This is a nation of early adopters. Sweden's set to become the world's first cashless society, and the economy here is driven by digital innovation. This national rail company has taken microchipping on board, with 2,500 passengers signing up to use their chip instead of a paper ticket. I've come to the capital, Stockholm, the epicenter of this tech revolution. At this shared office, hundreds of the workers have been microchipped, so no need for a security pass to get in. Per has had his chip for 3 years.
So I take my chip and open the door.
It means he can buy a drink without cash or a card. But for him, it's about much more than practicality.
Do you enjoy being one of the first, being a pioneer of this technology?
Absolutely. A whole bunch of questions come up. Like, is this ethical? Do we want to have that? Or will we be sort of a nation of cyborgs in the future? And what will happen? So a lot of sort of really interesting discussions come out from, talking about the chip.
It triggers an ethical debate.
Yes.
For critics, the biggest future concern is over data protection. As the amount and type of information we store on microchips becomes more advanced, so do the security risks. Ben Libberton, a British scientist working in Sweden, wants to know who will have access to the data stored inside and what they could do with it.
So I have the information in my chip now. That's basically just me. If I don't use it for anything, then no one can really get any data on me. But then if I start to use it at work, then work knows when I've interacted with something at work. If I then go to the canteen people know exactly what I've interacted with there. So the wider spread it becomes and the more that we can interact with different things, then our data is being kind of shared and incorporated in lots of different places. The nightmare situation in that case would then be that someone else has access to my health data, and that one day I get a letter through the door that's like an increase in my health insurance premium before I know that there's any problem with my own health. So I think we have to be cautious now in the very early stages to make sure that we're actually controlling how the information is being shared.
For now, it seems to me, what the chips can actually do is fairly limited. But the people I've spoken to are convinced that this technology will, one day, change the way we live. That in the future, we will all be chipped. And they are leading the way.